Okay, natality will increase or decrease the population?
Increase, sir.
Increase the population. Mortality will,
Decrease.
yeah. Similarly, immigration will increase population and emigration will decrease the population. So these are factors that affect the population. Next is two types of growth curve, exponential growth and logistic growth. Just you need to now see, first one is exponential growth. What is exponential growth? Exponential growth means one population or one individual, like one bacteria is this. So one bacteria will be divided into two bacteria. These two bacteria will be divided into four bacteria, four divided into eight, eight divided into 16, 16 divided into 32, 32 divided into 64, and that will goes like this. So with time, the population will increase like this. If this is time, this is population density or population. So with time, it will increase like this because 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16, 16 to 32, 64, 128 to 56. It will goes like that. So there is no barrier to stop that increasing population. This is known as exponential growth or J-shaped growth curve. So just remember this graph type. Other graph type is sigmoid growth curve and it is known as logistic growth curve. So what is logistic growth curve? For example, the population will increase like this, just like exponential growth curve, but after a certain time, the resources will become a limiting factor. For example, in if some rats are there, and just take an example like in a room you have you are keeping a limited quantity of food every time, and you are just you are keeping some rats there. So in that room, the quantity of food is limited. After some time, the rat will reproduce, they will increase their population. So 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16, 16 to 32, 32 to 64. After a certain time, what will happen? The food will become a limiting factor. The food will not allow more rats to survive there. What happens? They will just fight between themselves. They will kill each other, or some will die because of hunger. So only few will survive, and after a certain time, the population will become stable. Now, just compare that room with our Mother Earth. Our Earth also have limited resources. Limited resources in forest also, for lions, for deers, for peacocks. For every population, Earth has limited resources. So what happened? A species increase its population with time, but after a certain time, everything become stable. And we don't know, like in present time, where we are in this graph. For example, India's population is increasing. So this means we are here right now. After certain time, if we keeps on increasing our population after certain time, many things are already becoming limiting factor. For example, job, for example, land. That's why people are now not having more than 2 children, more than 3 children. They are now limiting their children. So this concept of limiting resources is now start originating in India. So this is known as logistic growth. Logistic growth, the population will increase up to a certain time. Then some limiting resources will stabilize the population. And this is known as logistic growth curve. And this population This stable population is known as carrying capacity. Carrying capacity means, for example, I told you the example, you have food in your room and you are keeping rats there. After a certain time, the population of rat will become stable. It means your room has capacity to keep only that much rat. After that, they will die anyhow. So this is known as carrying capacity. So Earth also have carrying capacity. Every ecosystem has a carrying capacity. Like there is a forest ecosystem. Take example of any forest. There will be some specific population of tigers. And from thousands of years, from lakhs of years, the population of tiger is not increasing there because the ecosystem can only help to survive those mud tiger. So this is known as carrying capacity. Is this clear? Exponential growth and logistic growth.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, this you don't need to remember. Just this is Varhas per logistic growth. You need to remember this name and the sigmoid growth curve. This curve you need to remember. Okay, now this is very much important, name of interaction, and this interaction is also happening between us, between our family members, between in any relationship. It may be husband, wife, it may be any other relationship, friends, and it's also happening between two species in an ecosystem. For example, mutualism. Mutualism is a type of interaction where both the species are benefited. So can you give any example of mutualism?
Sir, benefited in terms of what?
Benefited, like anyhow they are getting benefited. Okay, one example I will give. For example, lichens are there. Some people also pronounce it as lichen. So in lichen, two species are there. One is algae and other is fungi. So these two constitute to form a single unit we known as lichens. You have seen like in rainy season, you have seen on stones there is a green layer. So those are lichens only. And algae and fungi. In this, fungi tries to give water, absorb water from outside and give the water to algae, and in return, the algae starts photosynthesis and share the food with fungi. So they both are helping each other and they both are getting the benefit. Algae is getting water for photosynthesis, and in return of water, fungi is getting food. So both species should be benefited. Any example of, except lichens, any example of mutualism?
The cranes which is eating small insects from the cow.
Yeah, very good. The crane which are eating some uh, insects from the cow, or you must have seen some pictures of crocodiles there. They open their mouth and some birds are eating some raw material stuck between their teeth or something. So these all are example of mutualism. Both species are benefited. Plus plus competition. Competition means both
Excuse me, sir.
species. Yeah.
So here, like two different species must be there, or same species?
Okay, now we are talking about ecology. So we will talk about species, but this applies everywhere. Like in a relationship, for example, in a husband-wife relationship, if both the individual are getting benefited, it's mutualism. So we are talking about species, but it will apply everywhere within species also. These name of interaction.
Okay, sir.
Next, competition. In competition, both the species are harmed. For example, you are all are preparing for this UGC NET exam. So you all are competing with each other, and in that competition you all are losing your uh, time. Or if 100 seats will be there and only 100 individual would be there, you don't need to prepare. But right now you are preparing, some stress is there, and you cannot do some other tasks. So in competition, both the species are harmed. For example, two species, lion and tiger, they both are competing with for a single resources, deers or some herbivores animal, just to eat them. So what will happen, they will just fight with each other, they will kill each other, and both the species will be harmed. That's why a saying is there, like, only you are a competitor of yourself. So because in competition, with whom you are doing competition, anyway both will be harmed. The much you will take this feeling seriously, the much you will be anxious and you will be harming yourself. Next, predation. Predation, you know, one predator is there and he is killing other animal who is known as prey. So in this, the predator is benefited and the prey is harmed. All the carnivorous animals eating herbivores animal, and all the humans that are doing hunters, and all these all are predation relationships. So one is plus, one is minus. Parasitism. So what is parasitism? In parasitism, like, what is the difference between predation and parasitism? In predation, one species will kill other species for food, and in parasitism, one weak species will enter the body of other strong species in order to get food. So in this parasitism, one parasite is benefited. Parasite means the weak species who is um, going in the body of the strong species, and the host will be harmed. Can you just give example of parasitism?
So the tapeworms,
Huh?
tapeworms in
Huh.
human body.
Yeah, tapeworms in human body, and all the bacteria, all the virus, like COVID-19 virus. The intent of virus is not to kill humans, but the intention of virus is just to survive. Every other bacteria also, like you can take any example, bacteria of malaria. So the protozoa, it's a protozoa that is causing malaria. Its intention is not to kill us or not to make us ill, but because of its survival, it needs human blood. So it's a kind of parasitism. Because of its survival, it will enter our body, and because of that, we will be harmed. So all this relation are parasitism, plus and minus. Just a minute. Okay, next is commensalism and one is amensalism. So commensalism is one species is benefited, other is unaffected. So in this commensalism, one species, two species are interacting with each other, and one is benefited and one is unaffected. For example, just take example of shark. So many small fishes, they used to roam with shark. They used to just follow the shark, because when shark will kill a fish or kill a big fish, the small particle of that fish, that small fishes, that those fishes are getting food from those small particles. So in that relationship, the shark is unaffected, because it's anyway it's getting its food without any interruption or something. And the small fishes, they are also getting food because of sharks. So in this, one is benefited and other is unaffected. Can you give any other example of this commensalism?
Sir, can charity can be included in it?
Yeah, charity, it's also a good example. One is unaffected and one is benefited. So it will come in commensalism also if you are doing charity without any expectation. So it's commensalism only. In ecosystem, any other example between species?
So trees,
Yeah,
trees produce fruits, but they are unaffected, right?
yeah, trees that are producing
Sir,
food.
between domestic animals and with the people.
Domestic animal taming is a kind of mutualism. Like you are giving them food, you are giving them shelter, and in return, they are also doing something for you. It's a kind of mutualism.
Maybe hyena, which is surviving on the leftovers of whatever food the other lion or something has already eaten.
Yeah, that's also commensalism. And
Okay.
if they are competing, then it will be competition. Okay, next, amensalism. So, amensalism is a kind of relationship in which other is unaffected and one will be harmed and other will be unaffected. So, I will just give one example. Have you seen when some farmer is digging his field with oxes and all, what will happen? The cattle, while they will walk on the ground, they will make a small hole on the ground, and the insect will be visible to the birds, and then birds will eat those insects. So the relationship between cattle and those small insects is amensalism. The cattle are unaffected, but the insects are getting harmed. So this is amensalism, just opposite of commensalism, amensalism. So you just need to remember in which interaction who is getting benefited, who is getting harmed, and some example if you can remember, it will be good. Okay, now ecosystem structure and function. Four basic components of ecosystem are there. One is productivity, one is decomposition, one is energy flow, last one is nutrient cycle. These all are very much important in order to sustain a system. Productivity means there should be some plants who are producing food with the help of sunlight. There should be some source of food. Decomposition means those animals, those plants who are now dead, they need to decompose. If there is no mechanism of decomposition, the leftover or the dead plant and animal will just take all the land and the ecosystem will not exist. Next is energy flow. Energy flow means plants are making food and plants are making food. This we can also say like this: plants are trapping sunlight energy. So the light energy which plant are trapping in the form of glucose, it should flow. How it should flow? From plants, herbivores will take that energy. From herbivores, carnivores will take that energy. From small carnivores, big carnivores will take that energy. And next is nutrient cycle. Nutrient cycle means some nutrients are present in soil. After some time, the trees will absorb that nutrition. So after some time, what will happen? The soil will be nutrient deficient. So it should again come to soil anyhow. How it will come? After some time, or two methods are there. After some time, the plant will be dead. After hundreds of years, maybe the plant will be dead and it will decompose and the nutrient will again be dissolved in the soil. Second is the plant absorb minerals from the soil. Some of the minerals will be uh, transferred to herbivores animal body because they are feeding on plant. And after some time, when the herbivores animal will die, the mineral will again reach to the soil. So all these cycles, all these mechanisms are very much important in order to sustain an ecosystem. Next, what is productivity? Productivity is like plant is producing or plants are producing biomass or food with the help of sunlight. So it's a amount of biomass. Biomass you can take any fruit or they are also producing their own body produced per unit area over per unit time period by plants during photosynthesis is known as primary production. So what is primary production? Primary production is with the help of sunlight, the amount of biomass. Biomass can be the fruits plant are producing or their own body plants are producing, like leaves they are producing, stems they are producing, because they are trapping energy from sunlight. So this is known as primary production. Is it clear?
Sir, can you just repeat it once again?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so primary production is amount of biomass. You know what is biomass is? Biomass is, uh, we can say, fruits or leaves, etc. Now, what happen in photosynthesis? In photosynthesis, what plants do?
So they make food.
They make food, and how they store that food?
Don't know, sir.
Okay, so they store that food in the form of fruits, in the form
In
of
the leaf form of stars.
in the leaf form, in the fruits form, in the stem form. This all are plant means of saving that energy, saving that food. So during photosynthesis, plants are producing food and storing that food in the form of biomass. Now, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Biomass, you know now what is biomass. Now, see, this is a ecosystem. Hundreds of trees will be there. So amount of biomass all the trees are producing in a given time period. For example, in 1 year and in a given area. For example, we are taking a given area of any forest. So amount of biomass all the trees are producing, this will be known as primary production. And why they are producing biomass?
For their own survival.
For their own survival and for storage of that food that they are producing during photosynthesis. Now, this primary production is clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so primary production will be expressed at weight or energy. Means either we will say that plant are producing the total biomass is around 1000 kg. Means all the trees are producing 1000 kg of fruits, leaves, stem, everything. Or we can also express in energy like plants are producing this much energy. So these are the two way of expressing this. Now, what is the rate of that biomass production? The biomass production is known as primary production. The process is known as primary production. For example, you have a factory and you are producing some paper there. So the amount of paper you are producing in your factory, it will be your production. But with time, how many paper you are producing, it will be your productivity. So the rate of biomass production is called productivity. Just like one is distance. Distance means how much kilometer you are covering. If you are going from a to B, how much kilometer you are covering, it will be your distance. But how much distance you are covering per unit time, or what is the rate of covering of distance, it will known as how much distance we are covering per unit time or in a given time, it will be known as what we call it is speed. Is it clear?
Kilometer per hour. Kilometer per hour.
Kilometer per hour or speed. So similarly,
Speed.
primary production is amount of biomass produced by plant. It is primary production. And amount of biomass produced per unit time in a given time, it will be known as productivity. So the unit will be same. Gram per year means in 1 year, how much primary production is there? Okay, so primary production is divided into gross primary productivity or net primary productivity. Now see, first sun is there. So with the help of sunlight, plant is producing something. So it will be gross primary productivity or gross primary production. For example, a plant in your garden, they produce around 10 kg of biomass, or in energy also we can write 2000 kilocalorie. Kilocalorie is the unit of energy. So plant produces 10 kg of biomass or 2000 kilocalorie energy from sunlight. So it is gross primary production. How much they produce. But plant will also use that energy, na? Or plant will also use that biomass in order to make their own body. So some energy plant will use and some biomass that plant produce, they will also use. The remaining part which will be available to the heterotrophs, herbivores and decomposer is net primary production. So gross primary production is total biomass or total energy plants are producing. But they are also using some of the energy. For example, out of this 2000 kilocalorie, plants are using 1000 kilocalorie. So now how many energy is left to herbivores? How much energy is left to herbivores?
1000.
1000 is remaining for herbivores, means if a cow will eat that plant or grass, 1000 energy that cow can get. So the remaining energy
Yes.
available biomass for the consumption to heterotrophs is heterotrophs. It means herbivores or decomposer is known as net primary production. So gross primary production minus respiration losses. Respiration losses. What is this respiration losses? Respiration losses means amount of energy or biomass plants are using. So it will be respiration losses. So is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, what is secondary productivity? So, just like plants are taking energy from the sunlight, similarly, the herbivores or are also taking energy from Where they are taking energy from?
Plants.
Plants. So with the help of that energy, they will also produce some biomass. Like you are from birth, you are eating something, and you developed some biomass in your body. Like you increased your weight with time. Yeah, you increased your weight with time. So this will known as secondary production. And secondary productivity will be formation of new organic matter by consumers. Consumers, we all are consumers, herbivores, carnivores, all the organic matter or all the biomass which we all are producing by taking energy, taking food from the plant, it will be known as secondary production. Now this primary production plus secondary production, this is known as annual net primary production. And the whole biosphere, the whole earth is producing around 170 billion tons, means plant plus animal, they both are producing almost 170 billion tons of organic matter. So this is annual net primary productivity. And out of this 170 billion tons, only 55 billion tons is produced in ocean, the remaining produced in land. So don't confuse in this. Primary production plant will produce, and the total plant will produce, it will be equal to what we will call it as the total energy or biomass plant is producing, gross primary production or gross primary productivity. And the remaining energy that is available for the consumers, it will be known as
Net primary production.
net primary production. And then uh, gross was the total plant is producing, the other one is net primary production. So the amount of biomass,
Net primary.
I think Lipalika ma'am is getting like low voice late.
maybe there is some network issue. Okay. Okay, secondary productivity is rate of formation of new organic matter by consumers. So this is all about production. Decomposition. Decomposition is very much important for an ecosystem, just like production. So breakdown of complex organic matter by decomposition into inorganic substances like CO2, water, and nutrients. Now see, 170 billion tons of biomass. Biomass means my body, your body, plant body, or body of any living organism. So living organisms body, it is also known as biomass or organic matter. So a ecosystem is producing the organic matter 170 billion tons per year. So what if it will be not again decomposed? What will happen? It will be keep on piling up. And after a certain time, the earth will lose its capacity. So the decomposition of this organic matter or biomass is very much important. In yogic terms, you can understand like this. We generally say our body is made up of panch tattva. So simple words. These are 5 elements. So with the help of these 5 elements, our body or body of any living organism is made. So this is known as biomass. And this process is known as production. And this process is happening with the help of sunlight.
Okay.
And sunlight. And also then we are doing this process with the help of plants. That's also right. Now the biomass will again be converted into 5 element Panch Tattva. Every time we say again, our body will be dissolved into those 5 elements. So this is yogic philosophy. If you will just introduce science here, our body is made up of certain elements, and these elements are known as inorganic matter. Like for example, carbon, hydrogen, protein, minerals, some things our body is made up of. All these can be categorized into 5 elements only, and of those elements our body is made, and this is known as organic matter. Again, this organic matter will be converted into 5 elements or inorganic matter. So by this you can understand why with production decomposition is important. If only production will be there, after some time these 5 elements will not remain in earth, because everything will be converted into biomass. So the conversion of biomass into 5 elements is also very much important, and this is known as decomposition. So decomposition is breakdown of complex organic matter by decomposition into inorganic substances. It's a largely an oxygen requiring process. In production, the plants are producing oxygen. In decomposition, the decomposer will use oxygen. Raw material for decomposition is known as detritus. For example, if an animal die, if a plant uh, leaves or stem fall off, so it will be known as detritus, means now it is ready to decompose. Dead plants remains, leaves, bark, flower, dead remains of animal, these all are detritus. So these are 5 steps of decomposition. One is fragmentation. So fragmentation, it's like, for example, a plant leaf is there. So first that leaf will be physically break down into smaller particle. Like for example, in your plate, a chapati is there. So you will break that chapati into small pieces. Physically, you will break down. Similarly, some detrivores will break down that detritus into smaller particles, for example, earthworm. Next one is leaching. So after they will break down into small particle, the water soluble inorganic nutrients go down into soil horizon and precipitate as unavailable salt. For example, leaf is there, and the detrivorous animal broke down that leaves into small particle. Now the water soluble inorganic nutrients, all the inorganic nutrients, all the inorganic things like carbon, hydrogen, sodium, phosphorus, all the nutrients that are soluble in water, because of solubility in water, they will go inside the soil, and this is known as leaching.
Sir, can you explain it again?
Yeah, see, water is there in soil, like in some quantity water is there. So for example, if a leaf remains is there, like you can understand it like is, this is water present in soil, and a leaf remains is there. So in fragmentation, what they were doing, they just breaking that leaf into small particle. So with small particle, the minerals that are present in the leaf will be also accumulating in the soil. So because of this water, the water will absorb those minerals and it will take those minerals deep inside the soil. This is known as leaching. Understood?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Next is catabolism. Now, minerals present in that detritus are already being transferred deep inside the soil. Now, What about the remaining things, remaining organic matter? So degradation of detritus into simpler inorganic substances by bacterial and fungal enzyme. Like it is just like your digestion only. First, you are breaking down your food with the help of your teeth, with the help of your hand in your plate. This is fragmentation, breaking down into small substances physically. Leaching means as you ate your food, the minerals in your food they don't need to be digested. Like for example, calcium, magnesium. You have never seen like how calcium is digested, how magnesium is digested. Minerals are directly absorbed. So similarly, minerals present in that detritus will be directly absorbed on the soil. Catabolism. Now, remaining organic material, for example, carbohydrate, protein, and all, they are degraded in our digestive tract with the help of digestive enzyme. For example, carbohydrate is broken down into during digestion, carbohydrate is converted
Glucose.
to glucose monosaccharide, protein is converted into
Amino acid.
Amino
um,
acids.
amino acid. Similarly, the minerals already absorbed by the soil and the organic matter will be degraded, will be digested into simpler inorganic substances with the help of
Simple
bacteria.
sugar.
Yeah, bacterial and
Simple
fungal
sugar.
enzyme.
No, no.
Okay, you are
Amino acid.
okay, ma'am. There is some problem with your network. You can just leave and then join. Try to join again. Next is humification. Humification is if the bacteria and fungi they digested all the inorganics or organic substances into inorganic substances. Now, the inorganic substances will be accumulated as humus, dark amorphous substances. This is humus. Humus is freshly degraded organic substances. So it is resistance to microbial action and so decompose very slowly. Now it will not decompose very further. It will decompose very, very slowly. So just after catabolism, in catabolism, there is degradation of detritus into simple organic substances. And after degradation, or you can also say after not complete degradation, the organic material will be changed into humus, and then after humus it will be changed into inorganic substances. So the process of changing of organic material into humus, half decomposition we can say, it's very fast process, and the conversion of humus into inorganic substances completely, it's very slow process. Like you understood this?
Sir, I could not get it. Can you explain it again? I was disconnected.
Okay. See, organic substances are there. These organic substances will be digested, will be broken down into inorganic substances with the help of bacterial and fungal enzyme. So first, the bacteria and fungi will break down these organic substances into humus. This process is known as catabolism. This is very fast process, and they will convert the plant leaves or something into this black amorphous solid. It is half degraded organic substances. After some time, the humus will be slowly degraded to inorganic substances, releasing all the minerals present in that. It will be known as mineralization. So these are 5 steps. Fragmentation, I will again repeat, fragmentation means a leaf is there, it will be physically broken down into small particles. Next is leaching. The minerals that are present without any bond formation in that leaf, that are present in free state in that leaf particle, will directly go into the soil. The remaining organic matter will the bacteria and fungi will start digesting the remaining organic matter. The small particle, the bacteria and fungi will start digesting. First, they will convert that organic matter into a black colored amorphous solid, that is known as catabolism process, and the formation of that amorphous solid is known as humification. After some time, the humus will start decomposing. Slowly, the decomposition process will be continued, and slowly all the minerals that are present inside that humus, they will also be released. So this is 5 steps of decomposition. Is it clear?
So, sir, during leaching, whole mineral does not converted into inorganic nutrient. This is what you're saying.
Now see, just let's take an example for this. 2 types of minerals are there, like potassium, sodium, chlorine. These are 1 types of mineral. These are already exist in very simpler form. These are not present in any complex compound. These are present in very simple form, just like electrolytes in our food. Others are carbon, hydrogen, or oxygen. These are not present in very simpler form. These are trapped inside very complex organic substances like carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. They can be trapped inside protein. Protein is made up of these type of minerals only. So everything is minerals only. The simpler minerals will be go into soil in leaching process, and those minerals or nutrients which are trapped inside the organic matter through bonds or something, they will be released after humification in mineralization. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay, next is energy flow. So energy flow is also important in an ecosystem. Sun is the only source of energy for all ecosystem. As I already told you, the energy is only coming from the sun. And the sunlight that is coming from the sun is not photosynthetically active, means plants cannot use all the sunlight coming from the sun. As I already told you, in sunlight, UV rays are also there, some harmful rays are also there. So plant cannot use all the sunlight. So only 50% of solar radiation plant can use for photosynthesis, and this radiation is known as photosynthetically active radiation. Now, out of this PAR, means for example, thousand joule of light is coming from the sun. So only 50% of this 1,000 plant can use for photosynthesis. Rest is UV rays, harmful rays. So 500 joule plant can only use. Out of this 500, plants are only using 2 to 10%. So this 2 to 10% is giving energy to our whole ecosystem, to our whole earth. Next, ecosystem obeys second law of thermodynamics. They need a constant supply of energy to synthesize the molecule. It helps to counteract the entropy. So second law of thermodynamics, it's related to energy, and second law of thermodynamics, it's actually a very complex law, but in simple words you can understand it. It's like if there are some molecule who are in motion. For example, we all are in motion. We are going here and there. Plants are in motion. Animals are in motion. So second law of thermodynamics, it states that if inside a system, if the molecules or the elements are in motion, they need constant supply of energy. So similarly, we also need constant supply of energy. And from where we are getting that constant supply of energy?
Sun.
Sunlight. So ecosystem are obeying second law of thermodynamics. This PAR, this percent, you don't need to remember this percent, but you just need to know what is PAR, photosynthetically active radiation. Okay, energy flow first are producers or autotrophs. Why autotrophs? Those living organisms which are producing their own food, that's why they are autotrophs. And they are producers also. So in terrestrial ecosystem, plants are autotrophs, and in aquatic ecosystem, plants are not there. Plants cannot grow in the sea. So in aquatic ecosystem, some phytoplankton, algae, and some plants, they are producing food in aquatic ecosystem. Some special plants that can survive in water, they are producing food. Mostly in aquatic ecosystem, the food production is done by these phytoplanktons. Phytoplanktons are small green color algae that are producing food. So they are not big like plants, but their number is huge. And their number is that much huge, like they are producing more food than plants are producing as a whole. So in aquatic ecosystem, phytoplanktons are there. Next is consumers or heterotrophs. So consumer of heterotrophs, these are animals that are directly or indirectly depends on plants for food. First, there will be primary consumers, herbivores. So herbivores are animals. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so consumers, first is primary consumers that are directly depends on plant. These are herbivores animal. Next is secondary consumers. So secondary consumers means they are not directly depends on plants, but they are depend on those animals who are feeding on plants. For example, this is producer grass that is taking energy directly from sunlight. Now grasshopper, who is directly taking energy from producer, it will be primary consumer. Now the frog who is feeding on this grasshopper will be secondary consumer, and the snake who is feeding on this frog will be tertiary consumer. So what is the position of human in this primary consumer, secondary consumer, or tertiary consumer?
Sir, in place of that primary consumer.
In place of primary consumer, but humans are also eating some herbivorous animals, those who are non-vegetarian.
Yeah, then we are secondary consumers, sir.
secondary consumer. Ideal, it should be. Ideally, it should be.
Ideally, to sir,
Okay, it depends whether you are following vegetarianism or non-vegetarianism. If you are supporting vegetarianism, that ideally it would be primary consumers. Similarly, sorry,
so she's saying carnivorous.
okay, carnivores or herbivores. Actually, humans are omnivores, but if you are following vegetarianism, if you are following yoga philosophy or something, and it will always be primary consumers only. Okay, next secondary consumers, tertiary consumers. Now, don't confuse in this. Secondary consumers are primary carnivores because those are directly feeding on herbivores, and tertiary consumers are secondary carnivores because they are feeding on primary carnivores. So please don't confuse in that. Next, two type of food chain is there. One is grazing food chain, other one is detritus food chain. So grazing food chain is primary consumer will feed on producer, producer will feed on secondary consumer. For example, plant is there, a deer is eating plant, and a lion is eating deer. So it is primary food chain or grazing food chain. Now, the primary producer or primary consumer is feeding on living plants. Next is detritus food chain. So detritus food chain, as we already have seen, the primary consumers will not feed on living plant. It will feed on dead organic matter. Yeah, any question is there? Okay, so in grazing food chain, always the producer will be plants. But in grazing food chain, the primary consumer will feed on living plants like deer, caterpillar, we have seen grasshopper. They are feeding on living plants. Next one is detritus food chain. Detritus food chain, it usually starts with the help of insect. For example, some insects are there, wood louse, or some other insects are there which are not feeding on living plant, they are feeding on some dead leaves or something. So after that, these insects will be eaten by some birds. So this is detritus food chain. So grazing food chain starts with living plant and detritus food chain starts with
Dead leaves.
dead leaves or some dead remains. Okay. So these decomposers such as fungi and bacteria that we have seen in the process of decomposition, these microorganism or insect are starting this detritus food chain. Okay, so this we will do tomorrow because this needs to explain with a little explanation. Okay, so tomorrow in first 15-20 minutes we will finish all this and we'll start the other topic. Okay,
Sir,
so that, yeah.
I was noticing actually, I was going through the previous year questions. There I got some like questions based on sustainable development, millennium development.
Yeah, yeah. After this, we will cover that only.
Okay.
Sustainable development goals, millennium development goals. As I told you, 5 units we need to cover. Then there is probability you may find 2, 3 question or 4 question in environment exam that we are studying right now.
Okay. Sir, one more questions. Is
Yeah,
there any chance that questions will be made from like current affairs,
yeah,
informative current affairs?
definitely in environment, or you can also do it by yourself. I will also try to cover in last class some things are there. First one is you can note down higher education, ICT, and this environment. It is like 99% chances is that 1 or 2 questions from these unit will be from current affairs. Again, I'm repeating higher education, ICT, and environment. So please go through YouTube videos. Some channels are there like Byju's or some, for example, an academy. They just release these videos in YouTube only. Just type current affair of ICT, current affair of environment, current affair of higher education, and you will get. Try to cover 2-3 videos of 1 hour, and you will be covering all the current affair. Environment current affair, I will try to cover from my side also.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay, so you all can leave for today. We'll meet tomorrow at same time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.